So the Mini Pro comes in a new box packaging as you're seeing on the screen right now. So let's go ahead and open up the back. So at first you have the user guide card, which gives you all technical details and all the relevant details to the user. Then you have the Mini Pro dashcam itself. It really looks cool. And following that you have the car charger or the 12-volt adapter with a single USB port within the adapter. Following this you have the USB power cable, which is of 3.5 meters in length with a micro USB connector for the dash camera, and also at the other end you have the Type A port. The next thing which you have is the pry tool in order to insert the wiring into the beading of the car so that you get easier wiring. Following this you have an extra 3M sticker just in case you have to change the position. So in total in the box you get a user guide card, then the Mini Pro dashcam. Following this you have the car charger or the 12-volt adapter, then you have the pry tool for installation of the wire, then the 3.5 meter USB power cable, and lastly the extra 3M sticker. So these are things which you get inside the box, and let's take a look at the form factor. At the front you have the camera lens. On the left side you have the speaker grill for the DDPAI Mini dashcam. On top you have the 3M sticker in order to attach onto the windshield, and just below that you have the dashcam mount. At the bottom of the dash camera there is a mic in order to record the audio, and then at the working end of the dashcam you have the micro SD card slot and the LED indicator right next to it. Then you have the reset port and the micro USB connector port for the power. Also a good thing to note is that this is 330-degree rotatable design, which means this will adapt to most of the car's windshield, and you need not worry about if this dash camera will work or fit in your car or not. Then you also have the optional accessories which you can use along with this dash camera, which are the suction mount, CPL filter and hardware kit, and all these things need to be purchased separately. Now taking a look at the technical specifications of this dashcam, the model name is the Mini Pro and it has an input power of 5 volts 1 amp. The Wi-Fi is a built-in 2.4 GHz Wi-Fi for seamless connectivity with the smartphone. The resolution is 1296p Super Full HD as told before. The lens is a 140-degree field of view lens with a f2.0 aperture and a 6 glass lens. It has a built-in 3-axis gyro and an emergency lock in case any emergency videos are recorded. And lastly, it supports a micro SD card with a max storage of 128 GB, and also it does support loop recording. Now coming to the most important difference, the DDPAI Mini comes at a price of 3649 rupees on Amazon, and the Mini Pro comes at a price of 4499 rupees. Now other than the price, the most basic difference is that the DDPAI Mini has a resolution of 1080p Full HD at 30 fps, and the DDPAI Mini Pro has a resolution of 1296p at 25 fps. The DDPAI Mini has a 2 megapixel CMOS sensor and the Mini Pro has a 3 megapixel CMOS sensor. The Mini Pro supports micro SD cards up to 256 GB, and the DDPAI Mini supports memory cards up to 128 GB. Both the cameras support a field of view of 140 degrees, both cameras have an f2.0 aperture, both have loop recording, emergency recording, and both cameras support parking monitoring via hardware kit. So at first you can straight away make out that the older model had a gloss black finish and the newer model now has a matte black finish. So more or less the size of the camera has remained the same and it's not a major difference, and if we compare it side by side, the Pro version is slightly smaller compared to the older one, and that's not a significant difference. The position of the camera, the logo of the DDPAI has all remained in the same place. If you take a look at the working end of both these dash cameras, as you can see, in the older model you have a lid present and you need to open up the lid in order to access the micro SD card and the reset slot. In the newer model there is no lid, you have straight away access to the micro SD card, reset slot, and of course the LED is now placed right next to the micro SD card slot. In the case of the older model, the LED was placed at the rear side. Now actually I prefer this rear side LED because this is visible while sitting in any place of the car, but the side mounted LED is limited to be viewed by the driver only. Also guys, the mounting bracket is slightly different in shape and design. Both the cameras have a micro USB port, and on the right side of the dash cam you have the speaker grill, which is more or less the same, and on the bottom you have the mic slot at the same place where it used to be. Also guys, both the dash cameras have a rotatable design. So as you can see, the older model is rotatable about 300 degrees I think, and even the newer model has the same pattern, but the rotating mechanism has been made much smoother. There is no clicking sound in the Pro model. As you can see, it rotates very smoothly, whereas in the older model you hear a prominent clicking sound while rotating, and that's been taken away in the Pro model. So that's also a good change, and that's also a very fine change that has come up in the Pro model. Now comparing the video samples of both the dash cameras, you can see the Mini Pro on the left and the DDPAI Mini on the right. I must say the Mini Pro has a more sharper visual and the older DDPAI Mini has a more softer visual. Even the contrast levels are looking slightly better on the Mini Pro. Well, overall I think the Mini Pro, due to a slight bit bump up in the resolution, gives you a more sharper image and clarity. and goes a long way in giving you a better video. So if we go ahead and take a look at the license plate readability of the Mini Pro, I think I'll just go ahead and zoom in on the car in front with a slight distance of about 20 feet. Now as you can see, the letters and the numbers are legible, and you can make out each and individual letter separately, and that's a really cool thing for a 1296 cam. If I go ahead and zoom in at a close range of the license plate, now this is an excellent license plate readability at a close range for the DDPAI Mini Pro, and this is something what you should be aspiring for if you are buying the DDPAI Mini Pro. If you go ahead and take a look at the same footage again using the DDPAI Mini DashCam this time, now this is slightly more blurry I think compared to the Mini Pro, but overall you can still make out the individual letters and numbers, and you can make out the license plate. If I go ahead and zoom in again at a close range, now this is also again a very good license plate readability for the DDPAI Mini at a close range, and this really shows that the camera works best at the close range in terms of reading license plates. If we compare it side by side, on top you have the Pro and on the bottom you have the Mini, and there is a very slight difference, I think only a slight improvement in the Mini Pro sample, and this is again in the close range. Not a much of a difference, but a slight improvement only, but both the cameras have a very good performance at a close range. Taking a look at the side by side footage again at night, the Mini Pro on the left and the DDPAI Mini on the right. The Mini Pro footage does seem to be a bit more darker compared to the Mini, because slightly the DDPAI Mini has a higher exposure level I think compared to the Mini Pro. But overall footage, the DDPAI Mini Pro is giving more of a natural tone compared to the DDPAI Mini. Now if I go ahead and zoom in on the license plate of the Mini Pro, now this is a very excellent read of the license plate at night, which is giving you a proper contrast, brightness and exposure levels. If I go ahead and zoom in on the DDPAI Mini sample, now you can still make out the number plate, but it gives a more of a paint kind of an appearance and not a proper image. Now if I put them together side by side, on top the Pro and on the bottom the Mini, both the license plates are readable, but the natural tone is present only in the Mini Pro, and the DDPAI Mini is giving a more of a painted appearance. So this is the hardware kit for the DDPAI Mini and the Mini Pro with the OBD2 connector. So let's open up the back. So as you can see, this is a plain simple wire with just a OBD2 connector or OBD2 adapter. Along with it, it has a control box in the middle, and at the other end you have the micro USB port which plugs in into the dash cam. So first of all, you need to identify where the OBD2 port is in your car. You can consult your user manual or the car's manual. Then plug in the OBD2 adapter into the OBD2 port of your car. Then plug in the other end, that is the micro USB port, into the dash camera and just leave it be. Then following that, just conceal the wire into the beading of the car, take it down into the A pillar behind the dashboard towards the OBD2 port. Then open up the DDPAI app on your smartphone. Then connect the dash camera, it might be your Mini Pro or the Mini. Then following that, head into the in-app settings of the DDPAI app and then select the type of parking mode which you want. It might be time-lapse mode or normal recording or dormancy mode. Then select the required duration for the parking mode from 15 minutes up to 24 hours or even not shut down. Then turn off the car and wait for 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, the DDPAI Mini or the Mini Pro will enter parking mode immediately, and an orange LED will come up which indicates that there is successful hardwiring. Now this is a time-lapse mode video sample from the DDPAI Mini Pro. So this records at 1 frame per second, and this gives you an overview of all the events that are happening around the car in front of the camera lens, and you can set this using the in-app settings. So here are the 3 dash cameras, and if we take a look at the DDPAI Mini Pro and the 70mm M300, I actually think the DDPAI Mini Pro is slightly smaller in length. The Mini Pro has a smaller form factor compared to the M300. In terms of the build quality, I think the M300 has a slight advantage over the Mini Pro, but both the cameras have a small and a slim body type. The lenses are present on the right side, and both cameras have their respective logos at the front. The Mini Pro has a mount which is attached to the main body of the camera, and the Mini Pro is rotatable 330 degrees. In terms of the M300, the camera is not rotatable and it comes with a removable mount, which I have removed because I use a suction mount. The camera is not rotatable as in the Mini Pro, but if you use a suction mount, you can easily turn around the camera to record the cabin. So in that terms, it doesn't make a huge difference. Taking a look at the Nexdigitron ACE Plus, now this comes with an attached mount part, and you also get a mounting bracket on top right here, and this too rotates 330 degrees just like the Mini Pro, but the Mini Pro rotates very smoothly. There is no clicking sound, whereas in the Nexdigitron ACE you hear a prominent clicking sound while the camera is rotating. Talking about the working end of the dash camera, so this is the Mini Pro and this is the M300. The main difference is that the Mini Pro has a USB port on top of the mount here and a micro SD card slot is placed right below, and you also get a LED on the right side of the dash camera. Coming to the M300, the power socket and the SD card slot both are present side by side. Now this actually is a design flaw, because when the power port is connected here, it becomes very difficult to remove the micro SD card, and also there is no LED light on the right side of the dash cam. The LED light is present on the left side. So this means the LED is not visible to the driver's side when the car is on, when the dash cam is turned on, and it becomes difficult to know the status of the dash camera if you cannot see the LED directly. So that is an area where the Mini Pro has an advantage, because the power port and the reset port are in separate places and there is a LED light towards the driver side. In India, since we have a right hand drive car, so it makes sense that you have a light on the right side. Coming to the Nexdigitron ACE Plus, again this too has a separate port, which means it becomes easy to remove the memory card without having to haggle around with the power port. The main difference is the Nexdigitron ACE Plus has a Type-C port, whereas both the Mini Pro and the M300 come with the older micro USB port, and the ACE Plus also has a GPS port in case if you are purchasing a GPS model. Also regarding the LED, the Nexdigitron ACE Plus has LEDs on the back of the dash cam. So this means the LED light is visible throughout the car. Doesn't matter if you are in the driver's seat, your passenger seat or the rear of the car, the LED lights are visible from any place. So in terms of getting to know the status of the dash camera, if it's recording or not, the Nexdigitron ACE definitely wins this round, because it has LED light on the back which is visible from anywhere in the car. The Nexdigitron ACE Plus is able to record the cabin. You simply have to rotate the dash cam towards the cabin and the image flips over and you can record the cabin automatically. But that is not the case with the M300. You need a separate suction mount. So in case if you want to record the cabin, you need this suction mount. You need to fit the camera into this suction mount and then rotate the camera towards the inside in case if you want to record the cabin. In case of the DDPAI Mini Pro, I think it rotates towards the inside just like the Nexdigitron ACE, and you will be able to record the interior of the car as well. So that is also an area where the Mini Pro and the ACE have an advantage over the M300. Now let's take a look at some of the important features which really matter with these three dash cams. First of all, starting with the Nexdigitron ACE, the GPS variant comes at a price of around 4,200 rupees and the non-GPS variant comes at a price of 3,700 rupees. The DDPAI Mini Pro comes at a price of 3,999 rupees, which is 4,000 rupees. The 70mm M300 comes at a price of 4,600 rupees. Coming to the resolution, the Nexdigitron ACE Plus has a resolution of 1920 x 1080p at 30 frames per second. The Mini Pro has a resolution of 2304 x 1296p at 25 frames per second, and the 70mm M300 has a similar resolution of 2304 x 1296p at 30 frames per second. All three dash cameras support parking monitoring via hardware kit, but among these three, only the Nexdigitron ACE Plus has a GPS support, whereas the DDPAI Mini Pro and the 70mm M300 do not have a GPS support. Now comparing the video samples of these three dash cams, I have put them together from top to bottom so that you find it convenient to compare the video quality of these cams. On top is the Mini Pro, at the middle is the M300, and at the bottom you find the ACE Plus, and I have also provided their specific resolutions, their frame rates and their bit rates for your convenience as well. Now at first instance, you might see the M300 is a slightly bit brighter compared to the Mini Pro and the ACE Plus, and it has a slightly higher exposure and a lesser contrast levels. The Mini Pro exhibits higher contrast and the Nexdigitron ACE Plus has slightly lesser contrast. Coming to the license plate readability of the Mini Pro, so this is a really good read of a license plate, I think, at a close range, and this is something really good from a dash camera which comes at a budget price. Coming on to the license plate readability of the M300 now, again this looks slightly overexposed and there is comparatively higher noise compared to the sample which we just saw of the Mini Pro. Taking a look at the ACE Plus sample, now there is even more noise, I think, in the number plate itself, because this is a lower resolution compared to the Mini Pro and the ACE Plus, but still a really good license plate readability. Now comparing all three side by side, you should tell me which one of these is the best one. Well, I think the Mini Pro really excels, and following that the M300 is good, and at the bottom you find the ACE Plus. Coming to the night footage comparison, guys, I think this is a no-brainer. The Mini Pro really gives out a very realistic and a natural video tone compared to the M300, and I think that's a really cool factor because it is only a 25fps camera. And if we take a look at the license plate itself, now this is a very natural and a very clean license plate read at night, and this is something with which I am really impressed from the DDPAI Mini Pro dashcam. Taking a look at the sample from the M300, now this is again a good read nevertheless, but in comparison with the Mini Pro, this looks a slightly bit overexposed, and because of the lesser contrast levels there is a higher noise. Comparing them side by side, again this is a no-brainer. The Mini Pro sample looks excellent compared to the M300. Not that the M300 is bad, but in comparison I think the Mini Pro really excels in low light conditions. So comparing the night sample footages from both dash cameras, on top you find the A3 Pro and on the bottom you have the DDPAI Mini Pro. Taking a look at the license plate read at a close range, now you can see there's absolutely no difference. Both cameras offer a noiseless, clear license plate read at a very short range. Now coming to the overall night footage quality, I think again even in this aspect both cameras offer a very similar experience. There's no large difference, there's no significant difference which you should be thinking about when you take a look at the overall quality. But there's one thing which I need to show you, and that is if the vehicle is at a distance where the headlight is falling directly on the license plate. Now as you can see, I have pointed out the arrows. The license plate read will be whitewashed at such distance at night when the headlights are falling directly on it. But if you approach the vehicle and get a bit closer when the headlights are not falling directly on it, you get a very similar license plate read with a very clear and a noiseless projection of all the letters and the numbers. Coming to the daytime footage quality, again I have talked about the daytime quality in my previous video as well. Both offer a very good crystal clear quality, but I might say the A3 Pro is slightly better over the Mini Pro, but hey, this might be a subjective opinion. Taking a look at the license plate read now, as you can see, a very crystal clear read of the license plate, no noise, no disturbance, no blurriness. At a close range, both these cameras really excel at giving you a very good license plate read, especially in daytime. Now side by side comparison, as you're seeing on the screen right now, both cameras are offering a very similar and a very balanced experience in terms of the overall video quality, and I definitely cannot say that one camera is better than the other because there is hardly any noticeable difference between the video qualities of both these dash cameras. So let's begin with the comparison of the night sample from these three dash cameras. As you can see, I have arranged all the details and the technical specifications of all the cameras on the left portion of the screen. Now if I go ahead and pause the video at a certain point, now as you can see on the left side there is a Bolero car, and I'm going to focus on the license plate of that first. Following that, there is another important aspect, the license plate of the car which is farthest from me. About 20 feet away there is a Grand i10, and I'm going to zoom in on that license plate as well. Now the third important criteria which I'm going to show you in the night sample is the glare of the vehicle coming from the opposite direction. All these three aspects will come together in showing you which camera performs the best in night conditions. If we go ahead and zoom in on the license plate of the 70mm A810, now this is a very good read of the license plate, very minimal noise, excellent brightness and contrast levels in the license plate read. Coming to the license plate read from the Mini Pro, slightly brighter, a moderately painted appearance, but still you can make out each number and letter clearly. The license plate read from the N1 gives some more painted appearance, although you can still make out the number plate. The overall quality when compared to the A810 and the Mini Pro does seem to come down a bit. So as you can see, all three are arranged together for you to take a look at so that you can decide which one of them is the best one. Now since that is done, let's focus on the license plate of the vehicle which is farthest, about 20 feet away. Now you can make out the number plate, although not very easily, but still each number and letter is visible and you can make it out some way. So focusing on the license plate from the Mini Pro, completely whitewashed, there is no chance you are able to read the number plate at such a distance with my headlight falling directly on it. Coming to the license plate from the N1, again the same response, completely whitewashed. There is no way to read license plate in such conditions. Putting these three together side by side, as you can see, only the 70mm A810 excels in giving you this license plate read at such a high distance because of its path breaking StarVis 2 sensor. Coming to the third important aspect, the glare from the headlights of the oncoming vehicles. I'll just jump in directly and show you the comparison of all the three. The A810 has the least glare, the Mini Pro has a moderate amount of glare, and the N1 has the highest amount of glare. Continuing on the night footage, so let me just pause the video again and show you the difference now, because my headlight is now falling directly on the Bolero's license plate. and I'll show all of it in an instant without wasting your time by zooming in on the image. So this is the zoomed in image. So as you can see, the A810 gives a very good read of the license plate. Followed by that, you can see the Mini Pro and the N1 fail to give a good read because of the glare of my headlight falling on them. This is where the A810 with the Starvis 2 really excels. Following that, now you can see the Grand i10 on the right side. Now again, the A810 provides the best image out of the three, followed by the Mini Pro and then followed by the N1. Following that, the vehicle the farthest from the car. Now you can slightly make out the number plate in the A810 sample, but there is no chance you are making it out in the Mini Pro or the N1 sample. Continuing on with the night footage, so as you can see, the A810 gives the most natural and most realistic video quality, followed by the Mini Pro, which gives you a bit darker video but still more or less matches the A810 at least to a certain extent. The video from the N1 has a slightly overexposed impression and a little bit lesser contrast. So now let's take a look at the daytime sample of these three dash cameras and jump in directly into the license plate read. Now there's a Jeep about 15 to 20 feet away, and if I go ahead and zoom in on the license plate from the sample of A810, now slightly blurred sample, but still you can make out each letters and numbers clearly. There is absolutely no noise, and that's really excellent. Follow that by Mini Pro, it is blurred out except maybe the last three letters you are not able to make out anything. And then followed by the N1 sample, again you're not able to make out the number plate at all at such high distances in these 1296p dash cameras. Now comparing them side by side, you can definitely make out the A810 has the best quality, followed by Mini Pro and N1, which are more or less pretty much similar in terms of their license plate read. Coming into the license plate read at a very close range, now this is by far one of the best license plate reads at a close range. Now this is given by the 70mm A810. Following that, the Mini Pro gives this image. Now this is slightly blurred out, moderate amount of noise. You can make out the number plate, but I think this could actually have been much better. But if you take a look at the N1 sample, now this gives a lot of painted appearance, a lot of noise here and there. You can make out the number plate, yes, but I think when you put them side by side, of course the A810 is top notch, followed that by Mini Pro, and I think the last place is definitely the N1. So the overall daytime footage, I think the A810 and the Mini Pro share similar specifications, although the A810 completely outclasses both these dash cameras. The Mini Pro has a more natural feel compared to the N1, whereas the N1 has a slight difficulty in adjusting to the proper color tones and temperatures. So here is the DDPAI app, and again the same pop-up. I'll click on the always connect button, and here is the Mini Pro. The device has already been added onto my DDPAI app, and if I click on that, it will take you to a connecting camera page. I'll just zoom out so that you guys can see the whole thing easily. So now it is currently showing up the live recording from the DDPAI Mini Pro. So there are certain things which you can see in the app here, and at the bottom you find the capture button and the download button. So if you click on the capture button, it is going to take a snapshot of the current recording which is going on. Following this, you have the download button right here. If you click on that, you get a notification saying drag the timeline to select the starting point for download. So it means you have to drag around the timeline here, and as you can see, you can drag it back for as long as you want, and then you have to select a certain point, and from then you'll have to click on the download button. So now when you click on the download button, it is going to open up a new page from wherein you have to download a minimum of 5 seconds, and then you can close the download option and you can cancel the downloading. So I'll just click on the cancel. So here are the images which have been currently recorded. I just took a snapshot, and this is the current snapshot which is showing up in the album. There are no videos recorded yet since the memory card was formatted, and there are no videos showing up on the album. Now let's head into the DDPAI app settings. Now if I click on the settings button, there is a speaker volume button right on top, so you can increase or decrease the speaker volume. You just heard the notification tone there. Then there is a switching tone, which means you can turn on or turn off the sound which comes when the dashcam turns on. Following this, you have the dashcam installation guide, and you also have the option to flip the screen left and right. Following this, you have the recording resolution, and this is fixed at 1296p. You cannot downgrade it to 1080p if you want to record 1080p videos. Then you can enable or disable the mic here. There's a microphone recording. Then there is a date watermark option which you can enable or disable. Then you have the duration of the videos associated with photos captured. So this means it creates related video clip with a preset length when taking a photo. So you can keep this to 10 seconds, 20 seconds and up to a 30 second of video whenever you capture a photograph, or you can completely turn it off. Following this, you have the adjust collision sensitivity, which means you can take photos automatically when the device is working and detecting an impact. Collision sensitivity works based on the G sensor, and you get two sub options to adjust the collision sensitivity while driving and while there is a parking monitoring. So both are currently set at middle, which is medium. So following this, you have certain options regarding parking monitoring. So after vehicle is stationary for 15 minutes, it enters a time-lapse parking mode. You can change this and you can select the time-lapse mode or a normal video recording or a dormancy, which means device will wake up only via emergency event, which it detects via a G sensor. And then you have the parking monitoring duration, which means for how long you want to record the parking videos. You want it to record for 15 minutes, 1 hour, 6 hours or 24 hours, or you don't want it to shut down at any time at all. You can select that based on your convenience. Following that, lastly, you have the management option wherein you have the dashcam Wi-Fi name. You can change that. You can have a custom Wi-Fi password. Then you have the dashcam storage option where you can format the memory card, and then you have the about device button where it shows the model number and the firmware version, which currently it is version 7.4. Then in the end, you have the option to delete the device, which means if you're not using the device anymore, you can delete it from your DDPAI app and it's not going to show up the next time. So if you have any more doubts or queries regarding these two cameras, do write them down in the comments and I'll try to answer them as soon as possible. Also guys, if you do want to check out some more dash cameras and other accessories, I have made detailed videos about many of the dash cameras, and you'll find a link to the playlist of the entire dashcam videos in the description. So do not forget to check out that as well. So finally, I hope this video has helped you out in making the right decision and clearing out your confusion. And if it did, make sure to go ahead and hit that subscribe button right away and smash that like button. Many more interesting videos are coming up in the future. Make sure you do not miss that. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.